If someone told you they'd give you $10 million to eat nothing but rice, potatoes, vegetables, fruits, beans, lentils, oil, would you do it? I would. Well, it's something called the elimination diet. Okay, the elimination diet is actually the most beneficial way to identify if your foods are causing you issues or not. And in my experience, this has been absolutely critical when you're trying to help people with chronic illness. Most people who are having chronic illness symptoms, they have, fibromyalgia, autoimmune disease, mast cell activation, whatever it is. They're reacting to gluten, dairy, nuts, seeds, eggs, processed foods, too much meat, too many ingredients, spices, herbs, things like that, protein bars, multi-ingredient processed foods, things like that. This is really all the categories that are usually triggers. And when people have chronic illnesses, they go to these foods as comforting, or as comfort. They use them as comfort. And the reality is, like, these foods will trigger them and provide some degree of an initial release of the symptoms. But after that, then they go ahead and start to aggravate the symptoms. And this is why these foods need to be avoided. And they are really the cause of the majority of the symptoms people experience when they have chronic illness are these foods, right? So what I realize is when you start people off with the foods that have the lowest potential possibility to cause a sensitivity, then you have a chance to be able to see what that person really looks like without all these irritants in their diet, what are their symptoms actually when they're not eating these foods, right? What I've seen is that people can see, half, if not 2/3 of the improvement, if not more, just from removing the irritants. It depends on what their symptoms are, what their condition is. But you start off simply with fruits, vegetables, rice, potatoes, beans, lentils, right? Got to keep the beans and lentils to a minimum. You don't want to overdo it there, but you want to go ahead and include them still. And you want to try this for a period of 10 to 21 days. Ideally, 21 days is the best. You do it for 21 days. You use like an avocado oil, an olive oil, salt. Stick there with those. Water, if you want, you could have some juices like an apple juice, a carrot juice, something like that. But I wouldn't go beyond fruits, vegetables, rice, beans, potatoes, a couple juices, water, salt, olive oil, avocado oil. Start there. See how you do with that. Rotate your foods. One day you do rice and potatoes for lunch. And then for dinner, you're doing rice and cauliflower and carrots, whatever it is. The next day you do the potatoes, etc. So you start rotating the foods. You don't have 7 ingredients at each meal because you want to be able to see which meals agree with you and which ones don't. So after, let's call it 10 to 21 days, whatever you're able to handle, then at that point you start saying, okay, what foods do I want to try to add back in? Oh, I want to try adding, gluten, dairy, whatever it is. Well, the reality is, in my opinion, that you don't want to add the foods that you crave back first, because those are the ones that actually trigger you. They're the most likely to trigger you, and you end up kind of basically going right back to the things that cause you problems. And, so if you add gluten back in, all of a sudden, oh man, I got, bags under the eyes, my skin got dry, and I didn't sleep well that night. Well, guess what? It was gluten. I don't want to believe that because I've been eating gluten all my life and I didn't feel that before. Well, guess what? The reason why you feel it now is because you removed it for 3 weeks and then you added it back in, and now your immune system's able to show you what the problem is. And you just add one food back in at a time. You see how your body is doing. If you flare from that food, you wait until your flare goes away. Then you try adding a new food back in. But the reality is, like, the thing that you've eaten the most of, out of the gluten, dairy, eggs, nuts and seeds, processed food, whatever it is you've eaten the most of is probably more than likely the irritant. So you got to go ahead and back off on those things. And these food allergies, they can cause you any type of reaction: headaches, anxiety, sleeplessness, itchiness, eczema, muscle pains, bloating. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So if you really want to get to the bottom of your food sensitivities, you got to do it through the elimination diet. It only takes a few weeks of your life. And if someone said, hey, I'm giving you 10 million bucks, all you got to do this is just do it for a few weeks. I mean, I'm sure you would do it. So I'm hoping that you would be willing to do it for your own health too. Thanks for watching, everybody. And go to my website, endsickness.org. I have hundreds of videos, hundreds of articles on there. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions.